Hi. It's Rebecca here from Illuminate Personal Growth. I'm really excited to be with you here today to be talking a little bit about goal setting. And goal setting has a sort of an interesting sort of rap, if you like. Some people absolutely love goal setting, and other people really don't love goal setting and find it very frustrating that they set these goals and then aren't able to see results actually happen as a result of setting the goal. But the reality is of course you know as well as I know that just writing a goal down isn't what makes the goal happen. It's all the action that has to take place as a result of setting the goal, and that's what actually creates the outcome. So just writing it down or thinking about it or dreaming about it just isn't going to cut it. And I think it's such a common issue, if you like. People set themselves New Year's resolutions all the time, for example, and then find that they really struggle to achieve them. And it's partly that problem, but also partly because there are lots and lots of other reasons why people don't achieve their goals and their outcomes. And if you're looking to achieve particular outcomes this year in your career, I highly suggest one of our virtual courses. It's a 6-week course that you can do in your own time, start and stop whenever you like. It's called the Career Accelerated Game Plan, and it's absolutely chock filled at the beginning part of the course with all sorts of useful, valuable processes to follow that are also really engaging and really motivating to help you set really exciting goals for your career for this year. So if you want to sort of think about your long term, your short term, and then those immediate steps that you need to be taking this year to make more of the stuff happen in your career, more of the stuff that you want to happen in your life, then I suggest looking into that course, the Career Accelerated Game Plan. So what I thought I'd start with today, just to give you a bit of an insight as to, what goal setting, how it works and when it doesn't work, is just to start sort of thinking about some reasons why people set their goals and then they don't achieve them. I've actually developed a worksheet here that highlights all the different sorts of reasons there, and I just want to highlight a few of those today and talk about a few of those. I think one of the clear, most common, most frustrating of all of these issues, if you like, the blockers to progress, is that you really know exactly what you don't want. You're really clear on what you want to stop, what you want to kind of stop happening, but you're not clear on what you actually do want. Because when I talk to people about their goals, they often talk about what they want to end, what they want to stop doing, what they don't want in their lives anymore. And you sort of say to them, well, what is it that you actually do want? Have a think about that. That's a different way of thinking about it. And they suddenly go, oh, I've not thought of it like that before. Okay, what's the positive spin on that? How do I actually want this to be instead? That's a really good starting point. Start thinking about what it is you do want. Another one that I think is really valuable is this concept of deciding whether or not the goal was ever yours in the first place. It's something that I've heard a number of times over the years where people have sort of realized when you're talking about their goals that there's a goal that they've been chasing for years and it's never been their goal. It might have been a parent's goal that they had for their child, essentially. The parent wanted them to be a doctor, for example. And so the clients come to me and saying, well, look, I just don't find this role exciting. I don't enjoy it. And then when you drill down, you realize that the goal was never theirs in the first place to be a doctor. It was actually the goal of their parents. So I think that's a really valuable one to ask yourself, is this actually something I want? Because if it's not something that you particularly want, your chances of success are limited. Your chances of commitment to take the action, your chance of developing the energy even to focus on the goal are going to be slim. And there's always going to be a yearning for something else instead. So ask yourself, is this goal even my goal? So I've talked about commitment because I think that's another really useful one. Obviously, there might be other goals that are taking priority over this goal. So, you might have other distractions, you might have other values in your life that need your attention, and this goal just keeps being pushed back. But you can ask yourself, well, what's that about? Why am I making that decision? What is it that is causing me to prioritize everything else over this thing? So you can ask yourself again, what's my commitment to that goal, to that outcome? How much energy am I really kind of dedicating to this? What other barriers could there be? Does it feel too enormous? Does it feel too big a goal for me to actually achieve? If so, how could you break that thing down? What resources might you need? Maybe you're feeling like you're very much out at sea all by yourself and you need some support and you need some extra, it might be a cheerleading support, or it might actually be physical kind of resource that you need. You might need other people to help you. You might need monetary kind of support, whatever it might be. Think about well, what resources do I need that I'm lacking right now, that if I had them, this goal would be a breeze. I'd be so, set up, I could just do this thing. I wouldn't have to think about it anymore. So those can be other kind of ways to get around those obstacles. So let's talk a little bit about creating some sort of system to help you actually set your goals and achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve. Now, I'm a big believer in creating interesting systems that inspire you, systems that motivate you. They don't have to be complicated. You might have heard of SMART goals before. SMART goals is a very sensible, step-by-step, 5-step process that you should take your goals through. And SMART goals are wonderful. And if you want to know what the acronym stands for, it's a specific goal, it's a measured goal, so it needs to have some data in it, like if you want to lose weight, for example, you could say specifically, I want to lose 2 kilograms by a certain date. It needs to have, A is achievable, it needs to be something that you can actually achieve in the time, so it's realistic. And T is time, it needs to have a date applied to it, so it needs to have an end date. And if you want to get really, really excited about your goal, I suggest you write it as if you've just achieved it, and you're writing it on that date that you've set. It is the such and such of May, or it is the summer of 2022, and I am whatever it is. And I think that is a really good starting point when you're writing your goal, to actually sit yourself at the moment in time when you've completed the goal. It is the date of completion of this goal, and this is what's happening in my life. That's a really good way of looking at it. Now, let's talk about an actual formula, an actual system that you can follow very easily. You can just follow SMART. If you want to just write a goal that is a SMART goal, that's completely fine. But I actually like thinking about it a little bit differently. As always, I like to put my own spin on how things work, because to be honest, over the years, I've been coaching now for a decade, and I have tried lots and lots of different strategies. And I'm also very wary that women like to goal set in a particular way. Not all women, of course, but women do tend to like to goal set in a slightly different way. First and foremost, I think there needs to be a big emotional attachment to your goal. There needs to be something that's really exciting and motivating. It shouldn't just be a rational goal. Okay, that's the first thing that I think is really interesting about women. I'm going to talk about that in a bit more in a minute. The second thing is a lot of women like having multiple goals to focus on all at once. So, men can be much more laser focused, if you like, and have 1 or 2 goals that they just really want to achieve. And that's why when you ask them to do all those other jobs, they never get done. It's because they're just focusing on the things that they're focusing in on. Much respect to men, of course, but that's true. Women, on the other hand, are very good at thinking about multiple things at once. And I think it's the same with goal setting. If you want to set yourself a few different goals, I think that's great. But what I suggest is you have a primary goal all the time that you're focusing all your energies on, and make that bridge happen first before you then start thinking about all the other things that you want to achieve. So have the other goals, that's fine, but always, always have a primary goal that is your complete focus for now. Otherwise, you'll never get any of it done. And the third thing I think is really useful for women specifically is to think about how you want to set the date for your goal. Like, I know a lot of women are very uncomfortable setting a very clear-cut date, like the 1st of July or the 1st of January. That just doesn't sit well with them. So for some women, that's completely fine. And if that's you, do what you need to do and focus on how you do it. But for a lot of women, seasonal goals seem to work better. I don't know why that is. Please don't ask me why, because I don't know the answer. But I have noticed that some women are better with, Q1 goals or Q3 goals, or it's Christmas and I'm doing this, or it's July, whatever it is. I'm sorry, summer, whatever it is. And that's just what works for them. So I just suggest whatever works for you works for you. Focus on what works for you and do that. I always think set yourself up for success based on your values and how you do things and your preferences. It's always the best way forwards. So let's get to talking about this formula then of how to actually develop interesting, exciting goals for yourself. So I think the first and foremost thing is literally just to write down your goal, and you can use that SMART formula if you like. So it needs to be a specific goal, like really super duper specific. It needs to have measurable data in it. So it might be a volume, it might be a percentage, it might be a time frame, it might be a cost, it might be a kilogram, it might be whatever, but there needs to be some measurable data in there to make it really, really specific. It needs to be something that is achievable, so something you can achieve and be realistic too in the time frame that you've got. Okay, so stretching, yes, but not so stretching that it's overwhelming. That's what I mean by stretching. And then the last thing, it has to have that date of achievement. So like I always write my goal that it's the date to start with. It is the something something, or it is summer of whatever year, and then you start writing about what's happening. So SMART is just, for me, the tip of the iceberg of how you goal set, okay? Because I'd like you to also factor in these elements as you explore it. And the other thing that I would say from experience of having done this for 10 years now is the more you bring this idea to life, the more easy it is for you to see it, to feel it, to taste it, to appreciate that it's a possible outcome for you. And so that is the huge piece of advice I would have. Spend some time doing this properly, really kind of flesh it out, put lots and lots of feeling and thought into it. And the more you do that, the more real the goal will be for you. So you've got your SMART goal. Then I'd like you to think about a higher purpose, a purpose bigger than this goal, like what you're doing this for. Why are you even doing this goal for? What are you even doing this for? It's like your big why. So is it about becoming sort of the woman that you were always meant to be? Is it about showcasing who you really are? Is it about showing yourself as a role model for a young child that's in your family, for example? That's often a really big motivator. You want to sort of show yourself as a particular kind of woman to these children. It could be that you want to blaze a trail for other professional women coming through your industry. Whatever it is, just think of something much bigger and more exciting than the goal itself. I think that's always useful. Next, I want you to tap into all the rational outcomes that this goal is going to get you. So what is the outcome? Like, how are you going to benefit rationally? So it might be I'm going to get a pay rise. It might be I'm going to get a promotion. It might be that I'm going to be on the radar of my boss. It might be that I'm going to have this incredible career sponsor who's going to advocate for me throughout my career in the next 5 years. They're rational reasons and they're really useful, but they're not where it stops. And that's where a lot of goal setting does stop. The second piece is to think about the emotional reasons. So once I've got the rational stuff, the promotion, how is that going to make me feel? How am I going to benefit emotionally? This is important, okay? This is about recognition. This is about feeling like your opinion matters. This is like, I matter. My contribution matters. Everything about me matters. They're really good emotional rational reasons and outcomes for you to pursue as a result of getting your goals. And then just spend a little bit of time really exploding, and this is where I want you to write a huge paragraph. I'd like you to write a huge paragraph all about the success factors. How do you know that you've been successful as a result of achieving this goal? And you can tap into all of your senses with this. So you're at this date where you've achieved the goal. What is happening? What can you see in this space that is different, that is new, that is exciting? What can you hear in this space? How do you feel in this space? How do you know that you've been a success? What tells you that you've been a phenomenal success with this goal? So once you've got your SMART goal and then you've thought about those additional factors, you're going to have a really exciting, really rich, really motivating goal ahead of you. And I would just suggest that the first thing you do is you think about just three key action steps that you can take. Keep them as small and bite-sized as possible. And what I suggest you do is every couple of days, just have a look again at your goal and decide, what are my next 3 steps? What are my next 3 steps? Every couple of days, just think about the next 3 steps. And they can just be simple, small actions. And they should be simple, small actions. Keep the goal exciting and big and broad, but keep the actions small and bite-sized. And that is how you progress, just by taking little tiny bites out of that huge elephant. As they say, how do you eat an elephant? By eating it one bite at a time. That's what that's about. That's about taking those small regular steps every other day, every day, towards achieving the outcome. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear all the results that you're having as a result of applying these strategies to your goals. I want to hear about your promotions, your pay rises, your improved relationships, your varied leisure life. I don't care what your goals are. I want to hear all about them. So please email them into me. You can email me anytime at rallen@illuminategrowth.com.au. I am so excited for you. Go out there and get them.